ambassador of the Republic Indonesia to the United Kingdom and Ireland.
In the past, and especially since our independence in 1945, we focused our development more on the western part of Indonesia. Java Island, become the center. Since 3 years ago, when President Jokowi got elected, he realized that the key issue for Indonesia, development that is inclusive, keep narrowing the gap, the imbalance between west and eastern part of the country. And a lot of people actually begin, also to criticize, President Jokowi by saying that all this development in eastern part of Indonesia is actually an attempt, to boost, his image, the pencitraan. But I think if you look at the electoral fact in Indonesia, that is not the case, because you don't get much votes, by working in the eastern Indonesia, because most of the votes in Indonesia is actually on Java Island. We believe that what he's trying to do really deliver, one of the key promise of the Indonesian independence, which is development, for all. Papua now enjoys the highest growth, I think, the second highest growth in Indonesia. The highest now is still in Sulawesi. That's also the eastern part of the country. President Jokowi decided that, for the economy to grow, for the economy to develop, for the gap between west and east of the country, getting narrower, we need to start with the infrastructure projects such as the roads. Even Sulawesi just get the first railways. The economy will follow suit. And I think we learned a lot of lessons from other countries in East Asia. You look at South Korea, they started with infrastructure. Look at China, or definitely they started with infrastructure. The 4th year of President Jokowi's term, he began also to allocate a lot of resources, for human resources, because you can build, schools, you can build, hospitals, unless you have doctors, to fill in the hospitals, teachers, to go into and teach in those schools, and that those buildings, will be useless. I come from Aceh. I was born in Aceh. I remember that a lot of schools were built by the New Order regime at the time, the 70s, 80s, but not enough teachers. Then I think now we learn that lessons and then try to avoid that mistake. And I really appreciate the Lingkar Studi Papua, for actually paying a lot of attention, in their activities and also in their studies on the education sector, in Papua, because that's, I think, the second leg. The first leg, of course, the infrastructure, the physical buildings that we need, but the second leg of that development, has to be the human resources development. And today's discussion, I think will bring those, issues, into perspective.
Whenever I go to a ministry, we have a really productive conversation. And then I bring up what's going on in Papua, and people get really quiet. Because no one quite knows what to do. They are not used to being frank and open and honest about developments in Papua, which has been left behind by a lot of previous programs.
Yeah, the project is actually, we call it Apu Sekamawira. It's a shortened for Anak Papua Pelaku Usaha Sejati Kami Maju Karena Wirausaha. There are like sweet potato farmers in Wamena, vanilla and vegetable farmers in Yapen Island, cocoa farmers in Jayapura district, coffee farmers in Nabire and Paniai, and also small kiosk project in Paniai. This one is like going around the coastal areas in West Papua. Big one is like once a week. So CIR is before 9 a.m. in the morning. So if I want to go to Yapen Island, I need to spend 2 days. From Jayapura, I have to travel to Biak, and because the plane to Biak is like after 9 a.m., so I already missed the morning flight from Biak to Yapen Island.
So maybe I can invite Ibu Adeline if you'd like to begin.
Participatory video project with some women in Nabire in Jayapura. So I'm not saying I'm the expert here, the women are the expert.
Puga pagi daya
Pada saat saya sudah berkeluarga, suami saya namanya William Manimbarba yang ditembak di Taman Gizi Nabire. Nah, saya itu pada saat itu saya lagi tugas negara. Saya sebagai seorang suster lagi tugas di Narotali. Kok tiba-tiba datang tuh langsung tentara kroyok mereka, langsung tembak. Tuk tembak kasih mati. Positifnya tuh tanah Papua tuh kaya dengan kekayaan alam yang berlimpah ruah. Jadi hasilnya itu kalau bisa kita mendapatkan sesuai dengan kekayaan alam yang kami miliki.
Ini di Papua ini banyak emas ya.
fasilitas alat maupun pembinaan pendidik untuk yang bertani atau berkebun atau mengolah itu tidak ada tenaga. Ya, kita juga ingin mau maju, ingin mau kekayaan, ingin mau kita mengolah Papua.
Yeah.
Nah, kekayaan Papua, tapi kekurangan alat kerja. Kalau di sini kita masih sistem tanam ya kayak yang dulu pindah berpindah.
Yeah.
Jadi asal tanam, asal makan dan tidak ada menjual. Jadi bagaimana caranya lokasi-lokasi yang ada di orang perempuan Papua atau orang Papua ini bisa dilatih untuk cara membina, membuat kolam ikannya, ternaknya.
Saya sakit hati karena saya di penjara di lembaga sampai suami saya pikiran. Sampai saya masih di lembaga, suami saya meninggal. Anak-anak saya masih SD kas tinggal, saya sendiri tanggung jawab. Karena itu, saya angkat merdeka.
Tantangannya tuh mungkin kita orang asli Papua sendiri tuh SDM-nya atau pendidikan, dia punya pendidikannya itu masih sangat rendah. Sehingga kita harus bersaing dengan orang-orang dari luar yang datang ke kita punya tanah nih. Berjuang, berusaha, mungkin mama-mama mungkin dengan kreativitas, ikuti pelatihan, ikuti mungkin kursus atau apapun itu, sehingga setiap potensi atau kemampuan yang ada dalam kita punya diri itu bisa kita kembangkan. Anak-anak mungkin kita bisa berusaha untuk sekolah. Kalau ada kesempatan untuk kita sekolah tinggi supaya kita balik, kita punya tanah, kita bangun, kita punya tanah. Siapa lagi kalau bukan kita?
Perempuan Papua harus berjiwa besar untuk mendatangkan kedamaian.
Honai is a traditional Papuan house. Honai is also like a council where people gather, democracy format. So Honai Perempuan is a women's council or women's home, women's house. That's their input for Indonesia in general and for the world. You know that this is what happened. We are not victim. We lost our loved one, but we want to contribute with this Honai Perempuan.
If you could put forward one single priority, I mean, looking at Papua, some of the challenge is that there's so many things that have to be done. Ambassador mentioned infrastructure as a major priority. We've heard a lot about human rights. We've heard about ethnic relations. We've heard about corruption. We've heard about economic sustainability and education. But if you had to put forward one priority for Papua moving forward from here, where do we begin?
To start with, there need to be transparency. Like maybe Rizal experience in Aceh. Soon as it's the transparency began, then the peace deal happened. Papuan people to know how to use this new media in terms of telling their stories, but also to learn. You can learn lots of things through the internet, which in some parts not existent, so that's probably need to be done as well. Open information, it's really important.
When we think about transparency for Papua, are we thinking about more Indonesians across the archipelago knowing what's going on in Papua? That a lot of times that's been a bit of a black box? Are we thinking about Papuans themselves knowing what's going on in their environment? Or are we thinking about the world hearing about what's going on in Papua that's been a little bit hidden?
I think you just specify all the three that's needed, because information, as we know, is it's two sides. Communication is two sides. The rest of Indonesia and the rest of the world needs to know what happened in Papua. It's not just people living in the tree like the latest documentary on the BBC. It's not just about the birds of paradise, not just about people wearing koteka or penis gourd, but it's about people who are coming out into the modern world from the hunting and gatherer society straight into the internet world. They do understand how to use the internet, but sometimes the infrastructure is not there for the internet. So it means that they have less opportunity than the rest of Indonesia.
Mas Rio, what's your priority?
The optimization of the role of indigenous leaders is the most important one. It is our job to answer why the big white ship coming full of commodity, but it goes back to Java empty.
Yeah.
We just spending our time, our energy wasting on politics activities, gain more votes, making people loving us, but we cannot build our society. Indigenous leader is the one who have to standing in front of us, protecting our cultures, norms, traditions.
The ongoing conflicts in Papua, and seeing that video makes me feel uncomfortable about the situation. But I'm also seeing that the women in Papua, or what we call mama, is actually one of the has a really playing an important role in the Papuan society. And having Honai Perempuan, they can be able to share their experience and how to constructively advocate for peace in the region. What was the effective way to be able to disseminate the information that we have from the government in terms of its development through the Papuan women to be able and make sure that they can also feel the benefit of the ongoing development in Indonesia?
I had to chat with a woman who's selling noken, which is a Papuan traditional bag. She's selling it on the floor in the airport in Sentani, in Jayapura. I asked her, Mama, if someone gave you a stall in the airport there, would you do that? She said, well, actually, I'd rather sit here because then if I can make some sales today, tomorrow I can have a day off and spend more time with my children. So it's the economy of today. It's carpe diem, isn't it? It's today. There's need to be a lot of socialization and education economy for slightly longer term to have a habit of saving. Something like this, like Honai Perempuan, if they start to see the benefit for them, then maybe they can disseminate it more understandable with their own culture and language rather than someone from outside. There need to be an understanding of their culture in order to disseminate new habits and technology. In Europe, it took about 2,000 years to go from hunter-gatherer into agricultural society. It takes patience and understanding, I think.
Masrio, what have you seen of women's integration into the economic sector?
Market is actually the even when you can socialize, make friends, talk, spending time, and get away from family headaches and stress. Market is very basic infrastructure. 10 years after the special autonomy applied in Papua, a lot of newly upgraded districts have no proper market. City mayor didn't do the work, governor didn't do the work, but president is the one who built that. The local leader is the one who have to think, this is what my people need, but they're busy doing different things.
I never worked in Papua. I mean, I've been telling people I can't work in Papua because I don't understand. Part of the whole development in Papua is going to be very difficult. The local culture is not very, at my understanding, is excluding women in the traditional council of leaders. Honai Perempuan is something foreign actually, not necessarily an indigenous Papuan. So you have a challenge there. But then across Indonesia, we know that not having women is a key to disaster. They need quick answer. Women, if they don't understand about budget and how local budget works, forget it. They will not gonna know. Then they will be selling just vegetables on the floor all the time. Well, the big guy is gonna decide where all these billions of rupiah are going to go. So those women have to be in that strategic position. Because I don't understand. I don't really know the Papuan women to really sort of like how you approach them and saying that don't start in Honai women in the local village and then thinking about local village budget. Talk about Papua sort of provincial budget instead. But are they there yet? I mean, how we can support so they can be in that strategic position to make the big decisions?
For the bigger project, I think you need someone who really understands them, how they think. Because when I talked to Emma, the woman here, I said, so have you heard of the Pasar Mama in Jayapura? You know, the president is building this, so you can actually selling in a better market. But they said, well, actually we prefer to sit on the floor, so give us market where we can sit on the floor. So it's little things like that I think it's just a little bit of dialogue would make it better, and it is possible. It is very possible to listen to them and then to build, or to build the economy based on how they think. And then, as we know, change will start very slowly. So yeah.
If Ibu Emma have access to that, I don't know, 70 trillion rupiah, she doesn't need to scream independent. She have that 70 trillion rupiah where she can decide what to do with that.
What you need is someone or some group of people to ignite all these little groups, pockets of women all over Papua and start communicating. And then the next we need to think how they communicate, because sometimes there's no internet, there's no phone coverage.
I cannot just jump in and say that women equality in their cultures, because it's very sensitive for the patriarchal society in West Papua. The gender things, it's somehow going to be like creating conflict. Slow but sure, you try to like giving them a new perspective about equality. Do not push too much.
I just want to make one remark about Buana's question. I think the only reason why this like Honai Perempuan, they don't get the budget or even talk about the budget at that level, because if you see from the upper level of provincial up to the regency, people like the leadership, they don't really have the good political will to have it done. So basically now they're just starting by creating a group of Papuan entrepreneurship, giving out the handouts. But the thing is, like, if you divided a huge amount of money into like thousands of the local entrepreneurs, like Mama, then the problem they're gonna get like 3 million only, and 3 million is only enough for like you selling a beetle nut, and then it's not sustainable. So, and then the government is like, recently they only spend the money to build a new facility, like sport facility. If you just to do it to distribute agency that can provide this funding with the requirements and everything, it can work out. People like Honai Perempuan Papua or other, they can actually discuss about what they're going to be doing. But as of now, it's not exist. So basically, people that get access in Papua, it's just people that maybe has a political working relationship. It's still a long way to go, but I think it's one of the reasons that we can push forward from the central government. The question is like, what can we put as a general agreement from the government to actually push these certain things to be done, like why build a stadium? This trillion rupiahs, you can development fund to do it. So it's the problem within us, but also the central government.
Between the women here and other participants who's gone through just mini workshops on making video, they can share their knowledge and skills to each other. The possibilities there, everyone can make a video. You just need a tiny little workshop, just one day workshop, and you can share information.
Can I invite everyone to sort of take about 10 seconds, I'll keep an eye on the time, to reflect on something new that you learned out of what they've said, and to reflect on something new that you would like to learn that you did not learn today. So if you just think with me now. I'll